News Channel 12's Ross Adams joins us now live from outside the Hinds County Courthouse, where the
what can you tell us about the judge's decision?
He joins us now
the judge just enjoined the Mississippi Department of Corrections from releasing these prisoners that former Governor Barbour attempted to give a pardon, and we think that he violated the Constitution. We think we'll be able to prove that. There are 21 that are incarcerated that will be held. We'll serve the 5, 4 of whom were murderers, and 1 is an armed robber. We'll be serving them with documentation shortly. And then we're going to go back through the rest of the list of the 200. So we're going to probably find that most of them were invalid pardons.
And what would you say to victims, these crime victims, who many of them who are probably worried tonight for their safety?
Well, you know, we've got our law enforcement officers out watching the ones that we think are a danger that have been released. So I think, you know, they're going to be fine. Just be careful as to what's going on, and I think we'll get this situation under control pretty quick.
What's the time frame? We're on Channel 12. What's the time frame for getting this situation?
We're going to have a hearing a week from Monday to have we've gotten a temporary injunction, and we'll be looking for a final injunctive relief a week from Monday.
So that means the Department of Corrections can't take any actions on releasing anyone who's been pardoned at this point.
That's correct.
Do the murderers have to turn themselves in?
Well, what we've had to do, we wanted to go be able to arrest them, but the law wouldn't allow us to do that because they have a valid pardon until we prove that it is in fact invalid. So therefore, we have ordered that they report immediately to the Department of Corrections, that they stay in contact with the Department of Corrections every 24 hours, and that they appear in court if they have any proof that they're actually ran for 30 days their application for a pardon.
How do you notify them?
Well, we got law enforcement officers that know where they are right now, so we're going to go serve those that we know.
State?
We don't. Well, I can't disclose it right now.
What about the clemency cases? Are you going to challenge some of those?
No, clemency, suspended sentences, all of those. We're talking about those aren't. There is no publication requirement for those. It's strictly those who have been granted a full pardon. We estimate there may be as many as 175 that we'll have to look at. And it appears from our preliminary review that a vast majority of them will probably be illegal pardons.
But does it concern you that someone like Karen Irby is going to be back on the streets again?
Well, certainly. You know, I'm upset the governor suspended those sentences. He has that authority, but you know that doesn't have any application to what I'm doing here on the pardons. I mean, I'm following the Constitution. I wish the governor had done the same.
Have you ever had to do anything like this before?
No, this job's always, you know, things like this new pop up. You know, the governor just tried to wait till the last minute and pull something off, and he's really caused a public safety issue out here for the public, and it's unfortunate that he has pulled this at the last minute, and we're going to have to try to rectify it. It's going to take some time. We're going to have a lot of work. We've got to go to every newspaper almost in the state and determine whether or not there was ever any publication done.
Now, can you tell us that this morning
you mentioned that his legal counsel had been giving you all some problems with trying to get those documents. Do you have those documents in hand at this time?
Well, when I talked to Governor Bryant, he ordered them to go provide them, and within 5 minutes, our investigators were loading them out of the governor's office. And they did stiff arm us all day. They prevented us from getting the files to see if there was any publication evidence. I mean, if the state had evidence that they were published, then that's fine. They have a valid pardon. We got that rectified. In fact, the court ordered the Office of Governor to turn over every one of the files. We're not sure we got them all. And also the Parole Board and the Department of Corrections. So we're going to get every file that's in the hands of the state to see if there was any publication.
Were you stiff-armed by Bryant's people or Barbour's former people?
Barbour's former lawyers. When I got Governor Bryant on the phone and told him I was going to have to file a suit against him if he didn't get them produced, and we had them in 5 minutes.
Was your office flooded with calls about this? Did anybody call you complaining about this situation?
Oh, yeah, certainly. Victims, you know, have called our victims unit, and you know, I'm just sorry for those victims out there who've had to suffer through this. But I think we're going to get it fixed.
How long will this take for some of those victims that want to see these people back in jail?
You know, by next Monday, we hope to have everything ready. We hope to have all our investigation done. I've, you know, assembled all the district attorneys throughout the state, local law enforcement. I will have them go into those local papers researching to see if there's any evidence, and then we're going to have, we're going to try to teleconference the convicts who are incarcerated now into the court and ask them, do you have any proof that they were actually published? And if not, those pardons are going to be held void.
Long term, what has to be done to make sure that something like this never happens again?
Well, you know, we passed a law a couple of years ago because Governor Barbour had done something similar to this. He violated that statute. That statute required that you provide notice and give the victims an opportunity to be heard. He just completely violated that. You know, we could amend the Constitution is what it's going to take. Hopefully it'll be a lesson to any future governors that you just don't, you know, do this kind of thing. you got to read the law before you go out here and do something like that.
Governor Barbour says that these people are not a risk, that most of them had served their time, that most of them were elderly, that they were sick, and that they are not truly a risk to the public. What do you say?
Well, those were suspended sentences, medical suspensions. We do those all the time as far as letting those out that are sick, those type things. There may be some valid pardon. People that, might have been entitled to a pardon. But there are a lot of murders. There's a lot of sexual assaults, all those type. I mean, it's complete with a lot of violent offenses. And, it's not just a question of what I think. I'm a prosecutor. I don't think any of them should be pardoned. But the question is, did he follow the Constitution? And we believe he did not.
You mentioned that some of these victims' families might want to go and file a restraining order against these individuals that have been let out. Would this action that the court made today prevent that from having to happen? No,
a victim could go to a judge and ask for a restraining order on any of these. The main concern of these 5 that were released last Sunday, they've been out, and we just want those victims to be careful and to go to a court. I think that these convicts will do the right thing. I mean, if they're talking to a lawyer's going to say, "Wait a minute, you don't do anything wrong. You come into court, and let's see if we can make a good argument to support that." So that's what we hope will happen.
There's plenty of evidence that some of these people have published legal ads. What is your position on how many times they had to publish a legal ad and what date they had to publish on?
They had to run for 30 days. See, many of them now, just this week, have gone out and started publishing. But the Constitution provides that before a pardon can issue, in other words, a governor had a duty to determine whether or not they had met the publication requirement before he signed them. So they have to do it for 30 days, not just 4 weeks. They got to do it 30. That's Constitution says 30 days.
What about in a county where you don't have a daily paper?
Well, then the Constitution says if a county doesn't, this is expressly in the Constitution.
I know it says if there's no newspaper published in that county,
right? Then adjoining county.
But it doesn't say daily.
No, but it can be weekly. I mean, just as long as you run it in there for
so at least once a week.
For 4 weeks plus 2 more days.
Does
you got to get 30.
Be a newspaper? Can it be online?
The Constitution, that wasn't around, but no, it's probably not going to comply. The Constitution expressly says the local published in local paper, so it's got to be done there. And we're going to follow what the Constitution says.
How outraged were you personally by all of this?
Well, I was a prosecutor before. I was a DA, and I tried some of these, or some of them that I prosecuted. I hadn't even had time to go through the list to see. But it's a slap in the face to everybody in law enforcement. Every juror sat there and sent one of these people to the penitentiary. All the money the counties have spent, all the stress victims have been through in trials to convict many of them. It's a slap in the face to them. And Governor Barbour ought to be ashamed of himself for the actions that he's taken in releasing over 200 people.
Why do you... Does he owe an explanation?
I don't know. He needs to answer it. That's the reason he's hiding, apparently, from the media. I hadn't seen him make any comment. There are some defensible pardons. He should have stepped forward and said, "Hey, this person has done this," and he tried to give some explanation. But by hiding and preventing us from getting those files today, it tells me he's got something to hide, and he ought to be ashamed of himself.
I know you said that you had not spoken with him personally or your office, but do you plan to try to contact him at this point, now that it's been this bunch of problems?
I don't know where this is going. He may wind up in a deposition somewhere. I don't know what's going to happen. Who's going to sue? He's put the state in jeopardy if some of these people get out and kill people. We're going to get sued. We have sovereign immunity, but still, we're going to have litigation. And I'm just concerned about the jeopardy that he's placed the state and the public in, from a public safety perspective, from these victims. He's just created a terrible problem, and he ought to have to answer for it somewhere.
So to summarize, where does it stand right now with those people that have been pardoned?
Well, what the judge has ruled is those that are incarcerated, Department of Corrections shall not further process their pardons. So they will stay incarcerated.
A.G. Hood talking about trying to block Governor Haley Barbour's pardons, and he just left the courthouse in Hinds County Court. We're going to have much more on this.